Hey guys, this is Danny Boy. This is Hidden Gulch on Nightmare, and this is the strat I used to get 5 skulls. So, I tried funneling them down the middle and using brimstone traps and haymaker traps and stuff, but it really didn't work very well. I quickly got overwhelmed. The brimstone just couldn't keep up with the enemies. After some experimentation, this is what I settled on. Basically, I block off the right side and the middle, and I just hold the left side. And there's one rift, and there's 2 exits, but just holding this left side seemed to work really well. I used a blunderbuss, maxed out for grenade damage with the bleed as well, the bleed upgrade. I used the flame magic bracelet thing, whatever it's called, just upgrading it so that it stuns on the firewall to deal with heavy ogres. I used mana rage, also increasing my base mana, and the scavenger trinket because coin forges didn't really work for this strategy. And I spec'd that, I believe. Actually, I think that was just base. I fully upgraded archers to make them as cheap as possible, also giving them health regen so that they could survive against crossbowmen and the flyers that inevitably come very quickly. Just double jumped up there to place more archers. Once you've beaten normal, or rather war mage, you can just use double jump to get up there. I don't believe you can get up there in war mage, just nightmare. Once you've beaten war mage and unlocked double jump, blah 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 blah. I also used arrow walls, upgrading them fully for damage and giving them fire damage. Brimstone traps, making them have, what, 5 charges, maxed out for charges before they have to reset, and making them recharge faster. Scorcher traps for damage and for burn duration. Grinders so that they don't jam as frequently and unjam faster. And barricades maxed out to be as cheap as possible and to take reduced damage from attacks. Basically, I just used the scavenger trinket to get some extra money and fend off the first waves of flyers, try to help out my archers. I started building archers quickly. I really wanted to get them built up to the point that they wouldn't die really from the flyers. They wouldn't get overwhelmed by the hell bats and the bile bats. I wouldn't really have to aid them so much, though I do aid them throughout the entire thing, really, just because there's times that I really have nothing else to do. I'm going to place 3 arrow walls on the left side. I'm then going to place grinders so that the arrow walls knock them into the grinders. I'll eventually place walls to kind of funnel them along the right side, the right-hand side of this left passage, and brimstone traps that they burn while they walk. Really helps deal with the heavier enemies and the runners and stuff. And I'll place scorchers along the brimstone traps. And that's basically it. I just use the firewalls to deal with the heavy ogres and stuff, the swamp trolls, and mana rage in a bind when things are getting a little overwhelming. I'll use the shotgun to pepper enemies to deal with them and to also deal with flyers, as I mentioned before. I never ever use the teleporters because, number one, I totally forgot they existed to begin with, and there's really no reason for me to teleport anyway for this strategy. You'll notice that I am in the forward position along this map. I'm not using this low ceiling that I'm below right now. I didn't bother using that. I just stuck with this. I didn't need to use the low ceiling really at all. And I'm basically trying to always take up a forward position just to help with par. I very easily made par on this map. I actually got 5 skulls in just a couple attempts, but I wanted to fine-tune the strategy a bit just to kind of optimize it. I'm not saying it's like optimized, but just making it a little better than what I used to get 5 skulls originally. I think I finished with a score of 230,000, which is okay, whatever. Don't really care, but... So I didn't have any brimstone traps out yet for dealing with these runners, but was able to kill them with a shotgun, and the archers also helped kill them, so it really wasn't a problem. Let's see. Yeah, really, it was just gradually getting traps out, gradually saving up money, trying to use the scavenger trinket as much as possible as mana allowed, and just not letting myself get overwhelmed. Hidden Gulch really wasn't that hard to get 5 skulls. The par is very generous, had no troubles with par at all. Almost 2 minutes, I think, left over by the time I was done. Kind of a long one. It's like a 15-minute something. Actually, I think it's a 17-minute part. I think I finished it in like 15 and a half minutes, 15 minutes or so. but not really tough to beat or tough to get 5 skulls compared to some of the other ones. So far, definitely Chasm's been the roughest to get 5 skulls. Maybe it was my strategy, I don't know. But that one I made par exactly. I did make 3 seconds below par once as well, but that was really a pain. Maybe I should have done things differently, I don't know, for that one. But this seemed to work really well. I couldn't fit a trap reset trinket into my build, which I generally like to do, but I just didn't have room. I really wanted Scorchers for extra damage, so that kind of took up that slot. I was just placing some dummy barricades right then. I placed one barricade just far enough in front of the middle barricades that the splash damage wouldn't affect the ones in back and just affect the ones in front. I also placed one in front of the right side. Didn't really need to place one on the left side so much. Any sappers that closed in just kind of died instantly if they came along the left side, so I didn't bother. And I make it a point to make sure that those dummy barricades are basically always set up. I reset them up after they're destroyed, and I have them spec'd to take reduced damage from enemies. From my experience thus far, it really seems like taking reduced damage is better when you're just dealing with sappers. Having them self-heal is kind of nice if they're taking damage from just regular orcs for whatever reason, or ogres or something. You're standing right next to them and they're taking collateral damage, or maybe a paladin standing next to them and so they're taking collateral damage, or a decoy or whatever. But just sappers being the only problem, the reduced damage made a significant difference in how long they could last, and made it so I didn't have to really worry about them. Basically, one barricade would survive just being hit by every sapper in a wave, and then I would just have to build another one at the end of a wave. But even then, they weren't always destroyed if the sappers kind of spread out. So I have my wall set up here now, so now enemies are starting to funnel more to the right-hand side of this left corridor, towards the grinders. I'm trying to make it a point to firewall right next to the grinder so that the ogre not only takes damage from me and from the firewall, but also the grinders. They do a lot of damage to ogres, so I try to do that as much as possible. Setting up brimstone traps now for just more damage. Eventually I'll set up scorchers for even more damage. But really wasn't a problem staying in this forward position. I would have liked to have had a healing well as well, but I didn't have space for it. It is a nice little cushion. I do kind of miss it now that I've used it before. You don't have to worry so much about taking damage. I never really bother going for untouchable. I don't like having to worry about getting hit. I like to play at least somewhat aggressively, get close to enemies, and I don't really want to worry about getting hit. I do rely a lot on my shotgun, or rather the blunderbuss. I rely a lot on the extra damage that it does, its knockback, its grenades. I use it against basically everything, and I have used it throughout this pretty much this character's entire career. I think I switched out of it once for maybe the glaive or the crossbow or something, but I definitely prefer it over basically every other weapon in the game. I do like the hammer, but it's really, really, really slow, and though it does kill heavy enemies pretty quick, it's really, really slow and kind of dangerous to use. Though the whirlwind attack is really nice in a pinch if enemies are closing in on your rift or whatever. But I also made it a point to kind of quickly build up archers as much as possible. I eventually have about 10 on both sides and a couple just sitting near where I am right now, the barricade, for just some extra damage against these guys as they move in. Setting up scorchers now. I'll just lay those along the brimstone. I might have actually been able to double them. I didn't really think about it at the time because it wasn't really necessary. I could have probably put even more scorchers behind the ones I just placed. I finished this with like 5,000, close to 6,000 gold left over, so money again was really not a problem. Just used a scavenger trinket to make up for not having coin forges, but really did not need coin forges at all to pull this off. Just unnecessary. So we're about halfway through now, a little more than halfway through, starting the 6th round. Everything, for the most part, is under control at this point. The only thing I need to worry about is just replacing my barricades, as they get damaged. The dummy ones that I set up works really well to not have to worry about sappers. Doing that right now, because I just got enough money to do so. But I have to say, I really, really like Mana Rage. I think it's a really fun trinket, and it's really, really powerful as well. Just the extra mana it gives you alone is really powerful, but using it to spam grenades is extremely effective to get extra firewalls out, or extra freezes out, or anything really. It's a really, really powerful trinket. I set up that last grinder kind of late, kind of forgot about it, but that was actually... I should have set that up a lot earlier. It would have made my life a little bit easier. A lot of enemies were getting to that choke point. But thus far, Nightmare really hasn't been that bad. It has been hard at times, and it has taken some thought and experimentation to get the strategy down. I do like how you can purchase upgrades and whatever. It adds a lot more strategy to the game, and the previous game was more just, you unlocked all the traps, and you pretty much used swinging maces for a lot of things, and just, you didn't have as many options as you do in this game. And you didn't have as much of an opportunity to make mistakes as you do in this game, because you can absolutely screw yourself over if you buy the wrong things for a map. I'm to the point that I'm basically walking into a map in Nightmare. I only played them once, so I don't really remember what they were about, and just seeing what's available on the map, and then leaving, and then speccing, and then starting to experiment. And it's definitely a fun process. I've only ever been frustrated, I would say, on Chasm, just because that wasn't so much about strategy, though maybe my strategy was flawed. It was more just about executing it really, not even really well. It was almost just kind of about getting lucky, I guess, just being really, really aggressive at the end and finishing everybody off so that you finish it without missing par by just a few seconds. So I found that one to be kind of asinine more so than anything else, but I didn't feel like, oh, I'm so skilled after beating Chasm. It was more just like, ah, finally, I freaking brute force my way through this. That really sucked. I did refine my strategy over time. I definitely did experiment a lot on that map, though, as well, but I don't know. This one was kind of more satisfying because I did do a lot of experimentation, figuring out how I wanted to do this and how I wanted to execute it, and just kind of fine-tuning it. But cruising along, I'm 6 levels in now. I believe there's 14 in the campaign, so Precipice will be next. I don't remember Precipice being very difficult. I remember getting 5 skulls on it on War Mage, so maybe I'm misremembering, but we shall see. It is still Sunday, by the way. It's actually now Monday. It's 3 a.m., so I apologize if I sound a little tired. I basically played when I got home. I didn't get home until late this weekend on Sunday, and then did editing and whatever. So I'm going to try to render these things and get them good to go and upload them overnight. We will see. I really would like to get more content out, if at all possible. Unfortunately, YouTube has not been behaving lately and has been taking hours to upload just 10-minute videos, so I don't know what that's about. It just kind of comes and goes. Some days it doesn't do that, it just behaves normally. Other days it doesn't work very well. And it's not my internet connection, so I feel like it's actually YouTube. My internet connection's been fine otherwise. Just so you guys know, I will be trying out another new game in just a few days. I might wind up totally abandoning it after I get it. Well, number one, I don't know how much it costs. So first I'll have to see how much it costs. Then I will play a little bit and see if it's worth recording. If not, I will continue with this, and then ultimately I'll be going back to BioShock. But I also plan on buying Guild Wars 2. When it comes out, I'll probably pre-purchase it pretty soon, though I'm kind of strapped for cash right now. And I might record Guild Wars 2 or I might not. It really depends entirely on the game and if it's, I don't know, fun, I guess, ultimately. But if not Guild Wars 2, I'll just continue with BioShock, and then finally, in September, Borderlands 2 comes out, which I've been looking forward to for a very long time, and we'll probably play a lot of that game. But we are now moving on to the final wave. I have plenty of time to make pars still. The final wave really wasn't even that bad. It was more of the same, really. There are a good number of ogres and swamp trolls and blah blah, but wasn't particularly hard. The choke point that I've set up is really more than enough to deal with basically anything that streams through. And if not, I can always just use Mana Rage and blow up whatever's arriving. The one annoying thing I will say was dealing with the Grenadiers, just because they were far in the back, and it was hard just to approach them. And I wanted to be cautious because I didn't actually have the healing well to keep me up, so I didn't want to overextend myself. So that was kind of annoying. You probably should watch out for that. Really sucked to die in the last wave and lose out on 5 skulls. But this is definitely coming to a close. So I guess I should just say thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more. Please like the video if you liked it. If it helped you, please sub if you want to see more. Leave comments and feedback. Feel free to ask questions and I'll answer them. but just kind of polishing this off. There are some flyers, but you notice I didn't really bother with them. I figured that my archers would be more than enough for them, and they definitely were. I think I might have shot a couple of times, but that was it. All that's left is this ogre. It was kind of annoying. There's a bunch of elementals that come in like right at the end as just their own wave. Something like 4 of them. So that just kind of made things take longer and just kind of screwed with my score a bit. It's not even these. There's these guys and there's some more a little bit later. But I popped Mana Rage just to speed things up, just to finish this off. I wanted to make sure to make par. I blew up the Swamp Troll with Fire, Magic, and these are the last ones. Yeah, there's just randomly like 4 elementals. So the very end of this wave is very heavy enemy. Heavy. Yeah. But that's it. That was Hidden Gulch. 5 skulls. Not really a problem. My stats. Yeah, par is 17 minutes, so it's a very generous par. Really was not an issue at all for me. Probably would be more difficult if you tried to do this from the rear, farther down the lanes and near the exit points. Alright guys, have a good one.